footprints from the crime scene match yours.
You have to believe me. I did not do what they said I did.
Cross-country manhunt. No one had seen anything like it. I have.
All right, gentlemen, we're going to divide up and search every house, hospital, hotel, back road, and backwater for Mr. Mark J. Roberts.
For Sam Gerard and his team of U.S. Marshals.
You ever make a fugitive arrest before?
Yeah, how about him? Nothing is what it seems.
I got to find out who the hell Mark Roberts really is.
Ex-U.S. Marine Special Forces, ex-CIA Black Ops.
All right, hands up.
No one can be trusted.
I got set up from the word go.
This is a ruthless killer who committed murder in cold blood.
Because this time, the fugitive they're chasing.
Give me a hand. I'd like to listen to you explain why your ruthless assassin keeps going out of his way to let people live.
Is a government spy who knows too much.
You're the great Sam Gerard.
Yes, I am.
And you always have to win.
Yes, thank you.
Get out from here and face me! Can't! Gonna have to shoot me! Hold it! Can't be caught! Turn around! You wanna kill it? Come on!
Still large, she's armed, he's dangerous. What do you intend to do?
Catch him.
I mean, in a way, it's kind of seen as both a sequel and a spin-off to The Fugitive, which, I mean, you could probably say both of them at the same time. I mean, Tommy Lee Jones was one of the more notable things about the original Fugitive, winning an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor in that film. This time around, it centers around him, Sam Gerard, once again played by Jones. It follows him and his team as they pursue another fugitive played by Wesley Snipes, who attempts to escape government officials following an international conspiracy scandal. And the cast also includes people like Robert Downey Jr., Joe Pantoliano, Daniel Roebuck, LaTonya Richardson, Tom Wood, Kate Nelligan, and needless to say, it doesn't necessarily fit the same bar that the original Fugitive movie had. I mean, it feels like in that trailer they're just copying so much of what made the Fugitive so special. But that being said, though, it is not a bad movie by any means. Far from it. I would actually say that I kind of like it a lot more than most people do, and it mostly is because of the performances by Tommy Lee Jones and Wesley Snipes, and even Robert Downey Jr., who I know at this time was kind of on that path where he was taking a lot of drugs and he was getting a bad rap, but in this movie, he's actually playing it pretty well here. He has a good performance in here. The action overall is very good. There are times when it does get pretty annoying when it comes to trying to copy what made the original Fugitive movie so special. Like, you see it in the trailer right there. You see, like, the things that they're trying to have. Like, they're trying to have Wesley Snipes have this big Harrison Ford moment where he's jumping up, where instead of jumping off of a dam, this time he's jumping off of a building and landing on a train. But at the same time, though, I mean, we've seen this before, and it's not really all that special or all that unique in any way, shape, or form. But then again, it also may not help the fact that the director of this, Stuart Baird, is not the best director. He's a great action editor, but as a director, most of his movies are not very good. I mean, Executive Decision just barely got by, and the next movie he made after this was Star Trek Nemesis, which is seen as one of the worst Star Trek movies. And it also doesn't help that you have a first-time writer on this movie, John Pogue, who... I'm looking at his credits right here, and they are not that great. I mean, he's written stuff like The Skrulls and Rollerball, the infamous Rollerball remake, but is mostly known for being a producer on stuff like The Skrulls 2, The Fast and Furious. He was co-writer on Ghost Ship. He wrote Quarantine 2 Terminal and Deep Blue Sea 3. He directed that, and he also directed Eraser Reborn, which... yeah, this guy's not a great writer or director, too, so maybe that's why there is definitely a major step down in quality. And honestly, I think with a better writer and director, if you got Andrew Davis back, if you got the two writers from the first movie, Jeb Stewart or David Twohy, to make this movie work, I think they could have made it work. I think it would have been something very interesting and very fun. But like I said, it's not a bad movie per se. It works because of Tommy Lee Jones returning this character that won him an Oscar, and he is good in the film. And Wesley Snipes is very good in the film, and the action is very good as well. But at the same time, you kind of expect more from this movie after what The Fugitive did before 5 years prior to this, I should say. But yeah, a good movie, not a great film overall. Good for a one-time watch, but definitely is a major step down compared to The Fugitive. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that is Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, and Gene Hackman in Twilight.
In a city where the night can seduce you, nothing's more dangerous than a past that comes back to haunt you. Academy Award winners Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, Gene Hackman, Twilight. Rated R. Starts Friday, March 6th.
Now all I'm imagining is Paul Newman and Gene Hackman as Jacob and Edward going after Bella, played by Susan Sarandon, a much older Bella and Jacob and Edward. But, of course, this is obviously not based on the Stephenie Meyers movie, and, you know what, I don't remember too much about this movie, but I'm pretty sure it's better than anything that came out of the Twilight movies, that's for sure. But, yeah, Twilight, this is a neo-noir thriller film from the director of Kramer vs. Kramer and Places in the Heart, and, Nobody's Fool was his last movie that he made. Basically, the story of this movie is that you have a retired detective accepting a simple task, unaware that it will tear open old, forgotten, but deeply wounds. And you could pretty much tell where this is going. I mean, this is pretty much something that's been done to death so many times. And it's not the best overall film, but it has enough talented people on board to really keep it going, like Paul Newman, Susan Sarandon, Gene Hackman. You also have Reese Witherspoon in here, Stockard Channing, Giancarlo Esposito, Liev Schreiber, Margot Martindale, John Spencer, M. Emmett Walsh, James Garner, Clint Howard. I mean, there's a good cast involved in here, and this is a good film by this is a decent, not even a good film, it's a decent film from Robert Benton, I mean, he had that little bit of a lull after Kramer vs. Kramer and Places in the Heart, but he did come back with Nobody's Fool, and this is probably the last decently made film that he made. It's not a classic by any means necessary, but it certainly beats the crap out of anything that other movies with the name Twilight have associated with him. But the performances, I think, do carry it through, and I think the mystery aspect could have been a whole lot better, but it's those performances from those seasoned veterans that keep the film going, and you just really feel like there's a lot there that could have made this a classic. But as it is, it's perfectly fine for what it is. I'm glad I saw it, but it's not one I'd watch over and over again. Kind of like with U.S. Marshals. Good for a one-time watch, maybe, but it's not something I want to watch over and over again. So, certainly it's a lot better than the next movie we have here, and that is Jessica Lange and Gwyneth Paltrow in Hush.
She found happiness.
She's a wonderful, wonderful girl, and I love her.
But the family she loves has a hidden past.
She murdered my son and got away with it. She'll do the same to you.
And the mother she embraced has a dangerous secret. Jessica Lange, Gwyneth Paltrow.
Your mother tried to kill me last night.
Hush.
You bad girl. You found me out.
PG-13.
And that PG-13 rating is exactly why this movie will never be relevant whatsoever, because a PG-13 rated movie like this clearly shows that they do not give a crap about actually trying to tell a good story or going for it all. They want to get the teens in here because, heaven forbid, teenagers want to see a Jessica Lange movie where Jessica Lange wants to kill her daughter. I mean, pretty much, her daughter-in-law, I should say, but you pretty much know what this movie is going to be right from the get-go. There are no surprises whatsoever. There's nothing intriguing. There's nothing engaging. These performances are wasted by really good actors who deserve a whole lot better. It's an abysmal film. It's an abysmal movie that's so terrible right from the get-go. There's nothing about this movie that is redeemable whatsoever. Like, this movie deserves a lot better. These people deserve a lot better than this film. Like, it doesn't even try to hide the fact that the mother clearly hates this new person that's coming into her family's life. And it's just like if there had been a little bit of a hook to it, then maybe there might have been something interesting. But no, you pretty much know where it's going to go right away. It's a melodramatic Lifetime TV movie blown up for the big screen because you got all these big names in here. And it's just a mess on so many levels. It's not a good film. It's a really bad movie. A waste of great talent. I don't think I need to say too much more about this. Let's get away from this one and actually talk about a friggin' fantastic movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. That's right, we're not even giving you a trailer or a TV spot. I just need to show you that title and show that music. and that's pretty much all you need to know about how wonderful The Big Lebowski is. And if you really want me to fill some time here, I can give you some quotes for this movie, because this is one of the most quotable movies ever made. Where's the fucking money, shithead? It's down there somewhere. Let me take another look as your head goes into the toilet. Over the line! Market zero! This is what happens when you find a stranger in the Alps. I can go on and on if you want to, but I know my terrible impressions will do nothing to convince you to watch this movie, which you should watch this movie. And since I'm going to be talking about this movie whenever we get to the Reviewing Network Talks About, because this is one of my all-time favorite movies, it's number 13, actually, on my list of my favorite movies of all time, I'll just run through it real quickly. You got Jeff Bridges starring as Jeff Lebowski, who's an unemployed Los Angeles slacker and avid bowler. After a case of mistaken identity, he's introduced to this millionaire who's also named Jeffrey Lebowski, and when the million Lebowski's trophy wife is later kidnapped, he commissions the dude to deliver the ransom to secure his relief, and the plan goes awry when the dude's friend, Walter, played by John Goodman, schemes to keep the full ransom. You also have Steve Buscemi, Philip Seymour Hoffman, David Huddleston, Julianne Moore, Tara Reid, John Turturro, as well as the stranger, played by Sam Elliott. And this is one of those movies it's one of those hard-to-believe stories. The Big Lebowski was not a big success critically or financially when the film came out, but as the years went on, it's become a strongly praised movie. The critical praise gets stronger and stronger over the years, and rightfully so, because it's one of the funniest movies ever made to a lot of people, and myself included. And I love Fargo. Fargo, I think, is the Coen brothers' masterpiece film, but this is the film that I watch over and over again. I mean, it's hard not to love this movie. It is so absurd. It is so weird. It has so many quotable lines to it. The dark comedy is perfect. The casting, top-notch. Jeff Bridges is amazing in this movie as Lebowski. John Goodman is great in this film. I just realized that this is the fourth John Goodman movie we've talked about in 1998, and the first two were terrible films, Fallen and Blues Brothers 2000, and slowly but surely he turned it around with stuff like The Borrowers, and now this. He's fantastic in the film. You have a great cast overall that I mentioned. The great trademarks that we love to watch in Coen Brothers movies. It's very well written. The comedy is perfected with both Bridges and Goodman leading to some of the film's funniest moments and the most quotable lines of the film. This is a quotable as all hell movie, and I want to go deep into this more, but I'm going to be talking about this when we do the Reviewing Network Talks About, and we eventually get to this film, because I'm doing, if you don't know what I'm doing with that, the first few weeks, the first few months of that show, I'm going to be doing my top 30 favorite movies in video form. So each week there will be a different movie that's ranked in my top 30 favorite films, and this one we'll definitely get into when we eventually delve into that. But all I can say here, man, is that The Big Lebowski is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's a hilarious comedy, a brilliant cast overall. I don't think I need to tell anybody to go check this movie out, because if you have not seen it already, you really need to go see this film. You are not going to be disappointed by it by any means necessary. The Big Lebowski, a phenomenal film. What more do I have to say about it? See this film. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Everest.
Triumph and inspiration on the world's highest mountain.
And no, this is not the 2015 Everest movie, which is a great film, by the way. You should actually go check that out. And honestly, you could see that movie on an IMAX screen and you'll get the full enjoyment out of it. But no, we're talking about Everest, the movie that pretty much introduced a lot of people to the IMAX theater, because this became the highest grossing film ever made in the IMAX format. And the 45-minute documentary is narrated by Liam Neeson, and it's basically a description of the training required in order to climb the nearly 30,000 feet to the summit of Mount Everest, and the challenges facing during the ascent, such as avalanches, blizzards, oxygen deprivation. I mean, we've seen these we've seen these done in many other different forms of movies and television. Family Guy did an episode where the family had to go up the top of Mount Everest, and of course the Everest movie that we talked about. And I gotta say, this movie would have been awesome to see on IMAX. Like, to see the views of Mount Everest on an IMAX screen. Like, it'd be really cool to feel like you're actually there. And this feels like a film that most people would never be able to do this, but this is a chance for you to see what it would look like if you had gone up on Everest. It's an amazing little documentary. It's only 45 minutes long. It's not a long film whatsoever, but you do get so invested in what's going on here. And they got to give a lot of credit to the directors of this, Greg McGillivray and David Brashears, who put together a phenomenal looking film that just fits the IMAX format so well. Like, Like, I would have loved to see this on the biggest screen possible. I mean, it's hard not to be impressed by the visual flair of the film. You do get invested in the storyline and all the challenges that these guys have to really go through in order to climb this mountain. And it's just a thrill ride on so many levels. Like, you get so invested, and the tension builds up so strong. You feel like you're almost there at times. It's an amazing documentary. I can't recommend it enough. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this might still be playing in some IMAX theaters, but not like on a regular basis. I think it happens every so often. They'll re-release this in theaters, but if this ever gets played in theaters again, I definitely go out and see this movie if I can find it somewhere. But it's an amazing film, man. I've seen the DVD for it. It's incredible to watch on there. I can only imagine what this looks like on the big screen, and I'd really love to see what this is like on a big screen one day. So yeah, that's Everest. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one we have here, Love and Death on Long Island.
Smoking. No, it says, thank you for not smoking. As I am smoking, I don't expect to be thanked.
I have begun to engage in completely new subject matter. New to me, at least.
Are you saying that if Shakespeare was alive today, he'd be doing things like hot pants college?
Time magazine says, forget the full Monty. This is British comedy at its best.
Very nice. Very nice indeed.
Love and Death on Long Island.
So John Hurt plays a widower who doesn't like anything modern. He goes to movies and falls in love with this guy named Ronnie Bostic, played by Jason Priestley. And he then investigates everything about the movie and Ronnie, and after that he travels to Long Island City where Ronnie lives and meets him, and pretending that Ronnie is a great actor, and that's why Gills admires him. It sounds like a premise that's not really all that engaging or exciting, but it's got some pretty good reviews to it, and it does feel like there is more to it than they're letting on here. I have not seen this movie, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but it's John Hurt, man. John Hurt does not usually turn in a really bad performance, and from what I've heard about this, he's actually really good in the film, as is Jason Priestley. And it's somewhat resemblance of something like Death in Venice, in a way, so that's really all I know about it, honestly. I wish I could say some more, but again, that's really all I know about it. But John Hurt does not usually turn in a bad performance, so I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being pretty good. So, quick one on that one, Love and Death on Long Island. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is the documentary, A Personal Journey with Martin Scorsese Through American Movies.
Younger filmmakers, why do I need to look at old movies? I've made a number of pictures in the past 20 years, and the response I find that I have to give them is that I still consider myself a student. The more pictures I've made in the past 20 years, the more I realize I really don't know. And I'm always looking for something or someone that I could learn from. I tell the younger filmmakers and young students that do it like painters used to do, what painters do. Study the old masters, enrich your palette, expand the canvas. There's always so much more to learn.
I mean, right there, that's pretty much a perfect sum up of what this movie is. You have Martin Scorsese examining a selection of his favorite American films through 4 different types of directors that he has. He has the director as a storyteller, the director as an illusionist, such as D.W. Griffith and F.W. Murnau, the created new editing techniques, among other innovations that made the appearance of sound and color possible later on. The director as a smuggler, such as filmmakers like Samuel Fuller, who used to hide subversive messages in their films, and the director as an iconoclast, who was filmmaking attacking social conventionalism, such as Charlie Chaplin, Orson Welles, Elia Kazan, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur Penn, Sam Peckinpah, and he goes all throughout these different eras of movies. We go all the way back to 1925 to modern day films too, so it's not just a specific period of films. We're going all over the map on this, and it's a fascinating documentary to watch. He has all these different movies and clips that he uses here. And it's a very intriguing film, and I like the idea that Martin Scorsese, throughout his legacy, that had been pretty much already set by this point, he's learning along with everybody else while they're making these movies, because he can look at newer filmmakers and still learn from them. And I think that's a really fascinating concept for a documentary here. And for a documentary that's over 3 hours long, you never get bored by it. For anyone who has a hardcore movie lover like myself, I can easily get invested in this because of, you could see just the passion that Scorsese has with these movies that he shows in these clips in here. And I think it's very well done. I think it's a very well-made documentary. I'd highly recommend checking it out if you can find it somewhere. A Personal Journey with Martin Scorsese Through American Movies. It works very well. So with that said, on to the last movie, and that is Jon Bon Jovi in The Leading Man.
I don't trust him. I don't trust him. You're not getting cold feet, are you?
Definitely a very different role for Jon Bon Jovi than what we're used to seeing. He plays a brash American actor who goes to London to feature in this major new play, and the playwright of the production is having an intense affair with the leading lady, and his wife of 14 years suspects that her husband is cheating on her and cannot suppress her rage, and Robin, Bon Jovi's character, comes up with an intriguing plan to seduce Felix's wife to end hassling her husband, and in desperation, Felix agrees, but soon faces a dilemma in that he feels increasingly jealous of Robin's attempts to seduce his willing wife, especially when he charms and attempts to seduce her, and the other members of the production have become too popular at Felix's expense, and he's caught in this web of dissent and jealousy, prompting him to seek revenge on the opening night of his production. And it's a very intriguing film, and like I said, it's mostly because we don't usually see Jon Bon Jovi in these type of roles like this, and it seems like it could be something pretty interesting. Like, I've never seen this movie before, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, but definitely has a lot of possibilities to it. I actually really am curious to see if this movie actually pans out as well as I think it does. You have Tandy Newton in here, Barry Humphries is in this as well, so there's a good cast involved in here, so could be pretty good. But like I said, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not, so... But my interest is definitely peaked. That's The Leading Man.
Quinn, my blood, a fact which has kept him alive until now.
He imprisoned his brother.
I'm a young king, but I am a king.
And concealed his identity.
Wear it until you die in it!
Now,
What do you propose to do? Replace the king.
only one will survive.
You have the chance to be a king. If you have the heart.
Yes.
The Man in the Iron Mask, rated PG-13.
So as I said, Leonardo DiCaprio plays a dual role in this. That's both the title character as well as the villain. And this film centers around the aging four musketeers, Athos, Porthos, Aramis, and D'Artagnan, during the reign of King Louis XIV. And it explores the mystery of the Man of the Iron Mask, with a plot closer to the 1929 version starring Douglas Fairbanks, the Iron Mask, as well as the 1939 version, than the original Dumas book. And, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio was coming off the Titanic zeitgeist, and I think a lot of people went to go see the movie strictly because he was in it. And he's not terrible in the movie. The movie itself is just not that great. This is the first feature film directed by Randall Wallace, who wrote the script for Braveheart, which of course won Best Picture 3 years prior. Then you have Jeremy Irons as Aramis, John Malkovich as Athos, Gerard Depardieu playing Porthos, and Gabriel Byrne playing D'Artagnan. And you have Anne Perilla as Queen Anne, Peter Sarsgaard, Hugh Laurie. A good cast overall here. Just a film that, it's not really that it's a bad movie. It's a visually pleasing looking film, but it doesn't feel like it knows what type of direction it wants to go into. Does it want to be a straightforward, serious adaptation, or does it want to have a little bit of a flair to it? Something like what we'd see later on in the year with something like The Mask of Zorro, which kind of worked well in mixing action and a little bit of comedy in there, and made for a really entertaining film. But in this case, not so much. It's not that it's a bad movie per se, it's just a film that doesn't really have a whole lot there to really make it stand out. It's nothing too engaging, nothing too that exciting. And I guess DiCaprio's perfectly fine in here, but he's nothing too spectacular in here, like especially when you consider what he was doing in Titanic at the time. But as far as the film goes, saw it once. Not a bad movie, but not a great movie either. I don't think I'd ever want to watch it again, honestly. So that's The Man in the Iron Mask, and at least that movie is a lot better than our next film, which is the infamous Carrot Top film, Chairman of the Board.
You were incredible last night.
Edison has two loves in his life.
Good morning.
He's vertical! One love is surfing.
Look out for the rocks!
The other is inventing.
A Slurpee cup with a heater on it. Look. This way, no brain freeze.
Yeah.
It's a blow dryer for Fall Guy.
The trouble is, no one is by.
We still got plenty more stuff.
Ow! The rent is due.
I want my money now!
And there's only one way to get it.
A job. Like a job?
I'm not cut out for these entry-level positions.
But he's about to meet someone.
Hey, what are those? Training boards!
You got a good head on your shoulder. Weird hair, but a good head.
Who's going to change his life by dropping dead.
I leave my entire stock holdings to my new friend.
$23 million? Oh, that's a lot of snaffle!
Yep. I think that pretty much all but sums up everything you need to know about how badly this movie is. This wealthy millionaire, I should say, decides to give away all of this money to this random guy he met while he was surfing. I don't know. I've got nothing for you. Like I think honestly that really pretty much sums up everything that's wrong with this movie. Wasting talent, comedy that's not funny, like just everything about this movie is just wrong on so many levels. Like, do I really need to delve into everything that's wrong with this film? You know what I should do? I'll just play the Conan O'Brien clip.
You are making a movie with Carrot Top, right?
I made a movie with Carrot Top.
Okay. But what's the movie going to be called?
Well,
Really?
I know what it's going to be called.
Yeah, what's that?
If it's got Carrot Top in it, you know what a good name for it would be?
What's that, Norm?
Box Office Poison.
There's this movie coming out.
Yes.
Title undetermined at this point.
Chairman of the board.
Oh, all right. Do something with that, you freak.
I bet the board is spelled B-O-R-E-D.
I mean, what more do you need to say about it? I love that Courtney Thorne-Smith knew. She knew what the hell was going on there. She was just like, you know what? I like that it happened. That was one of my favorite moments of her life. She literally said that. Is after McDonald died in 2021. And I mean, what else can you possibly say about this movie? Like, besides that, I mean, that's a perfect sum up about everything that's wrong with this movie. That it's like, it's just a bad film that wastes way too many talented people on a script that was clearly dead on arrival, that had no chance of becoming any success whatsoever. They spent $7 million on this movie, and $7 million, as low as that is still way too goddamn much for this movie. Just, what more do I gotta say? It's a terrible film, and I wouldn't be surprised if it contributed to Trimark Pictures shutting down after this. I mean, why wouldn't it? So, let's end this show on a much better note here. Let's talk about a classic movie that's being re-released in the theaters this weekend, and that is Martin Scorsese's, one of his earliest films, Mean Streets.
That I can borrow money from without paying back, right? Son, this shoot's by you or nobody else. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Honorable men. Honorable men.
So you have these two guys played by Tony and Michael, played by David Proval and Richard Romanos. They have a neighborhood bar and make deals on the mean streets of New York City's Little Italy. And for Charlie, who's played by Harvey Keitel, the future is less clearly defined. He's a small-town hood. He works for his uncle, making collections and reclaiming bad debts. In love with a woman of whom his uncle disapproves of due to her epilepsy, and a friend of her disturbed cousin, Johnny Boy, played by Robert De Niro, who's a near-psychotic whose troublemaking threatens them all. Charlie just cannot reconcile opposing values. A failed attempt to escape to Brooklyn moves them all a step closer to a bitter, almost preordinate future, which, you know, I just read that off of there. I have seen this movie. This is one of the few times where I have seen this movie while reading this synopsis on, like, IMDb, because it's a movie I haven't seen in a long time, but what I remember from it, I did generally enjoy about it. I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? And this was actually the first movie Martin Scorsese ever did that got both critical and commercial acclaim, because he had directed two other movies before this. He directed Who's That Knocking at My Door, and also he did Boxcar Bertha, which both I'm not too familiar with which ones did better, but this is the one that I know got the best reviews out of his first three films, and of course it eventually led to him becoming one of our great directors. And in this trailer, you can definitely see why. In this movie, you can definitely see why. It's a very well-made film. It's a great little crime film that comes just right after The Godfather. You know, kind of changed the game. It didn't need to be The Godfather per se. It just had to make for a very intriguing film. And you have really good characters to work around with here. Harvey Keitel, Robert De Niro, David Proval, Richard Romanos. You all have Martin Scorsese show up in this film. David Carradine's also in here as well. Just a really good cast overall in this film. It's a really well-made film, and like I said, it's been years since I've seen this film, but what I remember from it, I do remember really liking a lot. This was kind of the early... I won't even say that this is one of the first films I ever saw by Martin Scorsese, because that's a lie, because I've seen The Departed, Goodfellas, and all that before then. First time I ever saw this was actually on a Martin Scorsese collection, which actually includes this as well as Alice. I think Alice doesn't live here anymore. I think Who's That Knocking on My Door is also on there. and I can't remember what the other one was. I think After Hours might have been that one too. Might have been the last one on there, but it's Martin Scorsese, man. Martin Scorsese very rarely makes a bad film, and Mean Streets is one of the earliest examples of how good of a movie he can really make with that. So. But yeah, if you have not seen Mean Streets, you are doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Definitely check it out.
Calls primary colors vibrant and funny.
Dog. Well, mister, you're about to become Mrs.
From Mike Nichols, director of The Birdcage, comes the story of a man of the people.
What's has to be handled just right?
Just right. And the people who made him the man.
Does this guy have a chance in hell?
No.
Newsweek raves, it's a work of art. Primary colors, rated R.
Starts tomorrow at theaters everywhere.
So John Travolta plays Jack Stanton, basically kind of a Bill Clinton-esque type of person. He's running for president. The election is seen through the eyes of this young guy named Henry Burton, who's played by Adrian Lester. And along the way, Stanton has to deal with the sex scandal, which pretty convincingly happened around the time that everybody realized that the president was sleeping around with somebody in the White House. And it's funny because Bill Clinton actually enjoyed this film so much that he invited John Travolta to a party on the one condition that he's got to come in character as Jack Stanton, and Travolta denied, and probably that was for the best. Despite the fact that the stuff that was going on behind the scenes, this was actually a nice return to form for several people. John Travolta had a couple of misfires here and there in the early 90s, and then this was still in the middle of his big comeback in the mid-90s. But more importantly, it was Elaine May, who had just come off of, was still coming back after what happened with Ishtar. Her and Mike Nichols worked on The Birdcage, and then this film, which actually got her an Academy Award nomination for writing the screenplay for this. And the movie itself is very funny. You have a concept here that's basically a parody of something like what happened around Bill Clinton's first presidential campaign, which was originally published as anonymous, but was later revealed to be written by a Newsweek journalist named Joe Klein, who was covering Clinton's campaign in 1990, and that was revealed in 1996. And the movie itself is a pretty funny movie. I like seeing John Travolta in this. Emma Thompson's playing a character kind of different than what we're used to seeing her, and I think she works very well off of Travolta. The other cast also includes Billy Bob Thornton, Maura Tierney, Larry Hagman, Kathy Bates, and Adrian Lester, who are really good in the film. It's a really good film. It kind of got put an underrated appreciation. It's gotten a much better appreciation after kind of underperforming at the box office when it came out. It was heavily acclaimed, but it's a movie that has held up well over time. I was not really looking forward to it when I first saw it the first time, but I gotta say, I was really impressed by it overall. I thought it actually was a lot better than most people gave it credit for. And while it's no Wag the Dog or Dave, some of these great political comedies we've had in the 90s, it's a pretty good film. And if you liked Mike Nichols' the comedy that he did before this, The Birdcage, this has a lot of that same kind of humor to it. Maybe not as memorable as something like The Birdcage, but it definitely has a lot there to recommend. And I definitely say check it out. It's definitely worth a watch. So that's Primary Color. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Wild Things.
We've come to the halfway point of our senior seminars. Our guests today come from the Blue Bay Police Department.
Why don't we begin with a question? What is a sex crime?
Not getting any.
Welcome to the town of Blue Bay.
Hi, Mr. Lombardo.
Girls?
So where's your house, Mr. Lombardo?
Where innocence can seduce.
He started rubbing my shoulders.
Accusations can destroy.
I'm innocent.
You guys do sex crimes, right?
When was this that Sam Lombardo gave you the ride?
Did Sam Lombardo rape you?
Yeah, okay, he did. He pushed me to the floor.
And appearances can deceive.
Kelly said that we should do this to hurt Mr. Lombardo. She found out that Mr. Lombardo was in love with her mom, and that was it.
So you know how my mom's paying you off? She's breaking my trust.
We bought it, hook, line, and sinker. Now they're getting away with $8 million of Sandra Van Ryan's money.
You want my gut? There's more to this story than you know.
Woo!
After tonight, the three of us not to be seen together again.
After tonight?
I was curious about how you see things working out from you and Sam and Susan.
Excuse me?
I mean, it's hard enough for one person to keep a secret, let alone three. Especially when two of them are in love.
You don't really think Kelly and Sam are going to share that money with you, do you?
Leave me alone. There is no case. Get out of these people's lives.
Sam, I'm really nervous.
I need you to be there for me tonight. We gotta stick to the plan.
There's no one to trust.
You can trust me.
I'd keep a real close eye on my new friends if I were you.
She's gonna blow it.
Don't touch me.
Wild things. Two's company. Three's a crowd.
I'm sure nothing happens after that scene with Denise Richards and Nev Campbell that made me and every other teenage boy and everyone want to rent that movie to see what happens afterwards for some moments that our parents probably would not want us to watch. Surely nothing happens after that. Let's talk about Wild Things, because it's something alright. It follows Matt Dillon is a high school guidance counselor in South Florida who's accused of rape by two female students played by Nev Campbell and Denise Richards, and there's a series of subsequent revelations after a police officer begins investigating the alleged crimes. You could pretty much tell where everything is going just from the clips I showed you there from that trailer alone, but Wild Things I won't say is a great movie per se, but it definitely has moments that make you want to watch it, i.e. the stuff with Nev Campbell and Denise Richards when they were looking at their pure hottest back then. I mean, Nev Campbell was coming off of the Scream films. She was still on Party of Five. Denise Richards was just in Starship Troopers. And there are some pretty intense, sexy scenes in this movie that make the movie watchable just because of that. The mystery is not really all that surprising. If you've seen what happened, if you've seen the little bit of the trailer there, I mean, you pretty much get a good idea of where it's going to transpire. Nothing is really that much of a shock in this movie, and it's not really a great movie per se, but at the same time, I'll give it credit that it is a passable film. It's a passable film that only gets by because of those hotter scenes in the film, but other than that, though, it really doesn't do a whole lot to make it really worth the watch at the end. I mean, the mid-credits sequence is where the big twist is revealed. Like you don't usually do the twist in the middle of the credits. Like, usually it's before the credits, and it's just like, it's a weird move, and you could tell why it just doesn't work in this particular case here. Like, the mystery is not all that interesting whatsoever. The thing that is kind of pushing it to another level, besides the obvious scenes, the obvious sex scenes, is the performances. Like, Kevin Bacon's pretty good in the film. Matt Damon's pretty good in the film. You know, Nev Campbell and Denise Richards are very good in the film as well. You have Robert Wagner in here, Bill Murray, Teresa Russell, Daphne Rubin Vega, Carrie Snodgrass is in here. I mean, there's a good cast involved in this that actually does make it worth it in the end. And I won't say it's a good film per se, but it is a film. It's a kind of a guilty pleasure in a way. It's not a perfect film. It's not really that great of a film, honestly, but the stuff that makes it memorable in the end, and that's pretty much the only thing you do remember from the film once you're done watching it. But yeah, other than that, though, this really doesn't have a whole lot there that makes it unique or different, but it does leave a lasting impact on you if you see the scenes that this film is notoriously known for. But other than that, though, nothing too crazy about the film itself, though. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that one. That's Wild Things. So let's move on to the next movie here, and that is another Jackie Chan movie, Mr. Nice Guy.
When Jackie Chan gets pushed too far, it's time to fight first and apologize later. Who is that guy? Mr. Nice Guy, rated PG-13, starts Friday.
Another one of Jackie Chan's movies that came from Hong Kong to America through New Line. You have Chan playing a Chinese chef who accidentally gets involved with a news reporter who films a drug bust that went awry, and is now being chased by gangs who are trying to get the videotape. And you have Richard Norton starring in the film as well. Kind of like with the other New Line dubs for this, they take out a lot of stuff from the movie. It receives mostly a partial dub. There's a brand new score attached to it, and 13 minutes of cuts were made. Most of it this time revolving around the violence, particularly the violence against women in particular, and cuts for pacing. There were scenes that were rearranged, and there's one notable scene rearrangement, and that's the opening scenes of Giancarlo killing Tina in Jackie's cooking show. and the opening version opens with Giancarlo killing Tina, then Jackie's cooking show, but New Line's edit opens the other way around to give the movie a lighter tone from the start, and the New Line edits were not really the best thing about these movies per se, and they may have brought people into the theaters, but definitely people did not like the fact that New Line made so many edits to this. Like, New Line, I get what they were trying to do. They were trying to get the pacing going a little bit more, but at the same time, it kind of hurts the ebb and flow of the film when you're taking way too much out of the film, and then you're actually leaving a lot of empty spaces there where you don't really know what the hell's going on. And if you've ever seen the original cuts of these movies, they're a lot better, but the New Line cuts, not so much. The fact that they spent $6 million doing the cuts for this is pretty... It tells you a lot about the movie here, but the film did pretty well. It did decent business. It brought back double the budget it was to do the edits, so $12 million, which wasn't that bad, honestly. And as far as the film itself goes, it's just a fine movie. I think the extended cuts of these movies are a lot better, but at the same time, these are the movies that are helping to get Jackie Chan into the zeitgeist, because later this year, New Line's going to put him in a movie with Chris Tucker called Rush Hour, and that's going to bring Jackie Chan to the next level of his superstardom at this point. And yeah, not much more to say about that one. That's Mr. Nice Guy. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is M. Night Shyamalan's Wide Awake.
Remember grade school? When you had your best teacher, met your best friend.
What do you think about her? She's okay.
Pulled off your greatest pranks. Faced your first bully.
Can't. Why?
Felt your first loss. And found your first love.
He's hot. I think I'm having a biological reaction.
Remember what it's like to experience life for the first time. Rosie O'Donnell, Dennis Leary, and Dana Delaney.
That's not funny. Is that funny?
Wide Awake.
See, this is what happens when you don't get M. Night Shyamalan a twist to work with. You get a pretty mediocre film. This was actually Shyamalan's second film as a director after Praying with Anger, which came out 6 years prior to this, and just before he had started his track to becoming a hit director with The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable, starting with the next year. The script was actually written in 1991, and Shyamalan himself described this as a film that he hoped that would make people cry. The film was made in 1995, but was not released until 1998, which pretty much tells you everything you need to know about how this movie fared out. I mean, it's not a bad movie per se. It's not like one of those bad movies that sits on a shelf for a number of years, but it certainly is not a good film whatsoever. It's a film that it tries. It's a story that is pretty much your typical story. You've seen stories like this done before, but the casting overall isn't bad here. Dennis Leary, Dana Delaney, Robert Loggia, Joseph Cross, Cameron Manheim, Rosie O'Donnell. Everybody in this movie is doing a decent job here, but again, it's nothing too spectacular. It's nothing like we haven't seen done before in many movies like it before. I will say it's interesting to see M. Night Shyamalan do a movie that's not like the M. Night Shyamalan we're used to seeing. This is a straight-up comedy. This isn't one that has to have the twist and to make you want to see the film. It's a film that's very interesting and a different take whatsoever on a number of levels. So for that, I got to give him a lot of credit for that. But as far as the film itself goes, it's passable. Maybe good for a one-time watch, but other than that, not much more after that. So that's Wide Awake. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Fireworks. So this is a Japanese crime film, and you have this guy named Yoshitaka Nishi, and Nishi leaves the police in the face of harrowing personal and professional difficulties. He ends up spiraling into this depression and starts making questionable decisions, like what you see in that little clip there. And first released in Japan in 1997, directed by Takesha Kitano, who's also in the film. He's also known as Beat Takashi, and he's actually the guy who plays Yoshitaka Nishi. And that's pretty much all I know about this movie per se. I've never seen this movie before, but I don't know too much about it. It did win the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival in '97, and it helped to establish Kitano as an internationally acclaimed filmmaker, and the film has developed a cult following since then. And since this film came out, he's directed stuff like Kikujuro, Brother, Dolls, Satoshi, some notable films in Japan. But that's pretty much all I know about it per se. It sounds like an intriguing premise, honestly. But I don't know about the movie itself. I've never seen it before, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. It has some good reviews for it, so might be one I might definitely check out one day. Not much more to say about that one, so let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, and that is Robin Tooney and Henry Thomas in Niagara, Niagara.
Could you not point that gun at us, please? My name's Seth.
I'm Marcy.
It's cool.
Seth and Marcy are falling in love.
Sorry.
But love can't be controlled.
Hey, I'm up. Sorry. 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 Sorry.
Niagara, rated R. Now playing New York and LA. Starts Friday in selected cities.
So this is a dark and tragic romantic tale about young love, drugs, and a cross-country trip, as well as Tourette's syndrome. And that's really all I know about it, because, again, this is one I've never seen before. I know that this director did a movie that I know I am very familiar with. I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, which was the last movie he directed in 2009. You see Henry Thomas in there, Robin Tooney, Michael Parks, Stephen Lang is also in here, Candy Clark, Clea Duvall, some notable names in here, but as far as the film itself goes, I don't know if it's any good or not. I see that it got mostly mixed reviews here in America, but overseas it got better reviews and was actually garnered a Best Actress award for Robin Tooney's performance at the Venice Film Festival, the Volpe Cup Award, and has fallen into cult status due to its underground popularity. So it might be something that could be good. I don't know for certain. I haven't seen it before, but judging by that, possibility that it could actually be a little underrated gem. But other than that, though, that's pretty much all I know about it. So that is Niagara.
John Travolta.
Somebody snaking you, Danny?
Oh, bite the weenie, Riz.
Relish.
Olivia Newton-John.
Tell me about it, Stud.
Grease.
Danny, is this the end?
Of course not. It's only the beginning.
Of course, this was for the 20th anniversary of Grease, and of course you have John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, the film that turned them into superstars, and has become a musical classic ever since. This was the 20th anniversary re-release of the film. It was digitally remastered in Dolby sound, in stereo sound, which I've never seen this particular version of Grease, but from what I've heard about it, supposedly this version did not have the best sound on it, because they updated the sound on here, and it didn't end up not working out very well. So this was seen by some people as not that great of a re-release. In fact, there was actually an editing error on the original Grease where Danny and Sandy were supposed to kiss that was removed from the final cut of the original film, was lost for the theatrical release, and they only preserved the scene in black and white. And the director Randall Kleiser had attempted to try to have it colorized and restored for this particular re-release, but it eventually didn't happen because he was dissatisfied with the results of it. So. It's on the 40th anniversary re-release, but he said that when they get to the 50th anniversary, they're trying to make sure that they get it colorized and put in time for that release in 2028. So we'll see what happens on that front there. But this re-release did pretty well, all things considered. I mean, when it was re-released, it brought in another $28 million to help it kind of surpass The Godfather, Paramount's biggest release at that time. Of course, before Titanic came around the corner to take that away. Am I reading that right, though? Okay, I am misreading this wrong. It says it was actually during the 1979 re-release that it overtook The Godfather as Paramount's highest-grossing film, which I could have sworn that was, because Titanic had already surpassed $300 million by this point. I don't think Grease ever got to that, but regardless, what more can you say about Grease? It's a musical classic. John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John, their chemistry works so well in this movie. They're great singers in the film as well. The songs in this movie are excellent. I mean, even if you're not the biggest musical fan, you can find so much to admire about this movie. The production design of this film is incredible. You can tell that Greta Gerwig took a lot of inspiration from this movie for some of the scenes in Barbie, like some of the set pieces in here. I mean, really, I don't really think I need to say too much more about this movie that hasn't already been said. This is a film that, even if you're not the biggest musical fan, you can still find so much to really admire about this movie. It's a classic film, great music all around, one of the best soundtracks ever, and just a good, fun time overall. Like, there's so many quotable moments in this film. It's a classic film. I don't think I need to say too much more about this one. But Grease, it is indeed the word. So that is the re-release of the week. Now let's get to some of the newer releases that we had this week. And one of them was Richard Linklater's latest film, The Newton Boys.
The Newton Boys Incorporated. They're four brothers in it for the money and out for the good times. Now that's interesting. Critics are calling The Newton Boys an extraordinary, riveting adventure.
That is a wild story.
With explosive thrills. This is a big one. It's the best-looking bunch of brothers since Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. You got a name? Matthew McConaughey, Ethan Hawke, Skeet Ulrich, and Vincent D'Onofrio in a bang-up adventure. You're right. And you can bank on it. The Newton Boys.
It's a hell of a way to make a living.
Rated PG-13. Friday only in theaters.
Yeah, definitely a very different Richard Linklater film than what we're used to getting from him. This is based off of a book of the same name, which tells the story of the Newton Gang, a family of bank and train robbers. And yeah, Matthew McConaughey was actually born in this town in Texas, Uvalde. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Skeet Ulrich, Ethan Hawke. What am I doing here? Ethan Hawke, Vincent D'Onofrio, and you also have Dwight Yoakam in here as well, and Juliana Margulies. And unlike Richard Linklater's other movies, I think this and also the movie he did before this, Suburbia, was him trying to kind of like go outside of his norm. And honestly, I think that kind of hurt him in a big way here. I mean, this is a film that's not really all that memorable. It's got a good cast to it and some good moments here and there, but it feels like a movie that feels more mainstream than some of his other works. And I think because he went a little too mainstream, it does kind of hurt the film in a big way when it's all said and done. It's a film that doesn't really have anything too interesting or too unique to say. Despite the good acting from the four main guys alone, there's not really a whole lot there to really make it work as a film. There's some good moments here and there, but it's definitely one of the lesser of Richard Linklater's movies. And you do kind of expect a lot more from him. It's definitely outside of the stuff that he was doing beforehand that made his name well known. Stuff like Slacker, Dazed and Confused, Before Sunrise. And this is kind of a little bit of we're kind of in the middle of the lull that he's in before he'd eventually have a comeback starting with School of Rock in 2003, which was definitely more outside of what Linklater was doing with stuff like Dazed and Confused. But I think by that point, he found something that was working, and it eventually led to him making much better movies after that. But as far as this film goes, it's pretty forgettable. It's a film that kind of comes and goes. It's not a bad movie per se, but it's something that you kind of expect a whole lot more when you consider who's working behind the scenes of it. So yeah, that's the Newton Boys. Let's go ahead and move on to the next film we have here, and that is Ride.
Hilarious new comedy from the producers of House Party. This group of friends has just been given the chance to make it big in the music business.
Freddie B promised me a record deal, and I'm going to collect, baby.
Miami, here we go.
What is that smell?
I smell like fresh country breeze.
If they can get to Miami in 24 hours, all their dreams will come true.
I could handle the problems.
Newsday calls it funny, fast-paced, and gleefully rude. It's the wildest trip of the year. Ride.
I don't appreciate you getting with my program like that.
So you have a film here where you have a group of young people leaving Harlem for a bus trip down to Miami, and the voyage starts off with problems, but it ends up becoming a learning experience as they end up learning things about each other they had not previously known. It's a film that kind of looks like, from the trailer, like a mix between House Party and also National Lampoon's Vacation. This is one I've never seen before, but I can't really say if it's any good or not, but it has a decent cast to it. Malik Yoba, Melissa D'Souza, John Witherspoon, Downtown Julie Brown, Kelly Williams from Family Matters, Cedric the Entertainer's in here, and the director of this is Millicent Shelton, who later go on to direct a lot of episodes of 30 Rock and a lot of other TV shows. And as far as the movie itself goes, I haven't seen it, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I barely heard people talk about it, though, so that's probably not a good thing going for this movie. And the reviews for it seem like a mixed bag. I don't see anything that's overwhelmingly, glowingly positive about it, but I don't know. I mean, it could go either way. Like, it could be something it could be an underrated little gem, but then again, it might just be a forgettable 90s film. I wouldn't know for sure because I haven't seen it, so quick one on that one. That's Ride. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and I'm pretty sure that Ride will be much better than this next movie that we'll be talking about here, and that is Disney's Meet the Deedles.
And welcome all to Yellowstone on Old Faithful's 1 billionth birthday.
Something's gone wrong with America's most famous natural wonder. What they need are some experts. What they're getting are the Deedles.
Good thing I packed the jammers.
Whoa!
Reporting for Rangerly duty, sir.
Fine. Dandy. Terrific.
Meet the Deedles. They've got their own style.
These rookies are going to solve the park's big problem.
So they're going to bring in these two dumbasses to basically come in and save Yellowstone Park. Yeah, I'm going to believe that. Would you be surprised to know that this film is by Deke Entertainment, which is, of course, a company that is known for not really putting a lot of effort story-wise into the materials. And it's their first live-action film with Disney, actually. And this is the prime example of a bad late 90s Disney live-action movie. We've talked about this several times, how Disney's live-action movies in the later half of the decade were not that great whatsoever. In fact, were just most of them were downright terrible. With those one little gems you get every once in a while, but this is definitely not one of them. That's Paul Walker and Steve Van Wormer as the Deedles, basically the Disney's equivalent to Beavis and Butthead. I'm only guessing that they thought they were going to be the next Beavis and Butthead, and oh boy, were they wrong on that front. You have John Astin in here as well, Robert Englund, Dennis Hopper. Who was this movie really made for? Like, no kid is going to want to see this movie. No adults would want to see this movie, and teenagers are much smarter than we give them credit for. That you want to that you're going to try to sell this to them. I don't think so. No. It's just no. It's just no. This whole movie, just absolutely no. This movie is downright terrible. It's a film that is so terrible, so bad. It gives Spice World a run for its money in terms of much better material than this movie here. Like, Spice World, you can actually get some good laughs at with how ridiculous it gets here. This, not so much. So, let's get away from that one here, and let's go to another comedy that's probably a lot better than Meet the Deedles is. I've never seen it before, but it's the sequel to The Visitors. The Visitors 2, The Corridors of Time. This is, of course, the sequel to the original The Visitors, or Les Visiteurs, which came out in 1993, which would eventually lead into the remake that they would make in 2001, Just Visiting. And in this particular film, you have the same actors from the first movie, Christian Clavier and Jean Reno. And in this movie, you have Knight Godfrey returning to our time from 1023 to get back the sacred jewels that Jacqueville had taken to the 20th century. And I've never seen these movies, so I can't really say if they're any good or not, but they must be popular enough in France to keep making sequels off of them, so I don't really know too much about this one, but could be good, could be funny. It looks like it has a funny concept to it, so quick one on that one. On to the next movie, and that is The Proposition.
In your heart of hearts, you know that I'm innocent. Has she gone to him every day?
Yes.
Are they lovers? Our problem has gotten worse. Your way isn't working. I want to do it my way now, once and for all.
Kenneth Branagh, Madeline Stowe, and William Hurt. The Proposition.
So you have this father, Michael McKinnon, played by Kenneth Branagh, coming from the UK to Boston circa 1935. And for unknown reasons, he avoids at all costs the most prominent parishioners, Arthur and Eleanor Barrett, played by William Hurt, as well as Madeline Stowe. Meanwhile, the two are desperately wanting to have a child, but Arthur is sterile, so they hire a Harvard law student to impregnate Eleanor. But unfortunately, Roger ends up falling in love with her. And you have all these situations here. You have Robert Loggia here, also in the film, as well as Blythe Danner. One of two films she's actually in this weekend. We'll get to another one in just a second. And Neil Patrick Harris is playing Roger in this. All I know about this movie is that this is the last feature film directed by Leslie Lincoln Gladden, who would go on to become a very prolific television director and an Emmy Award-winning TV director, if I'm not mistaken. But, she won Emmys for directing the episodes of Mad Men and Homeland. But as far as this one goes, once again, I don't really know too much about it, unfortunately, so I can't really say if it's any good or not. I've seen it's not gotten a whole lot of good reviews, so I'm just going to go off of that. Maybe it might be something good, but I'm not expecting too much out of it if I ever get to see it. But so that's pretty much all I know about The Proposition. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie we have here, and that is Edward Burns' No Looking Back.
You're talking like your life's already over. Why don't you just come away with me when I come?
John Bon Jovi.
Just answer me. Why can't you just be honest with me?
Blythe Danner.
You always think you're gonna change somebody. Can't do it.
Connie Britton.
Look, I'm not gonna tell you how to live your life, but I think you're doing the right thing.
No Looking Back.
So you have Edward Burns playing a mechanic who returns to his coastal hometown after having left his wife of 3 years, played by Lauren Hawley, and he's hoping to continue what they had, but she's moved on and in with Michael and is working at a diner. And this is the third film by Edward Burns that we've looked in on here. The first two, The Brothers McMullen and She's the One. This is the one that I think is the most forgettable of the bunch. This is the film that Edward Burns later said his friends nicknamed it Nobody Saw It, and he decided not to write anymore for 2 more years. This was kind of a film that kind of burned him down a little bit because he put in $5 million to put this movie together. He wanted a budget of $12 million, but he was only able to secure $5 million. And he talked about it as the most personal film he's ever made and the one closest to his heart. But it's a film that people overall largely forgot about. And I don't know. I don't think it looks like a bad movie per se. I can't really say for sure if it's any good or not, but it doesn't look like the worst thing ever. So, I mean, that's not really saying a whole lot here. But so far, the 2 movies I've looked at with Edward Burns behind the scenes did work much better. And this one just feels like kind of a passion project, sort of. So I don't know. Maybe it could be good or not. But I don't really know for sure because I haven't seen it. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But I could probably see this as a film where Edward Burns had to rethink about his life a little bit before he went back to work on another film. So yeah, I don't really know much more to go into more detail on this one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next film, Character. So in this film, you have a guy named Jacob who lives mute with his mother. He has no contact with his father, with who he only works against him. And he wants to become a lawyer at all costs, and he has these adventures that go through this movie. This film won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film at that year's Academy Awards. And it's a Dutch-Belgian film. That's pretty much all I know about it. I haven't seen this one, so I can't really delve into too much more of it. But it has high praise to it. I mean, it won an Oscar for Foreign Language Film, so it should be somewhat of some worth. But other than that, I don't really else know what I can say about this one. So, another quick one on that one. On to the next one, Renee Zellweger and A Price Above Rubies.
Freedom always comes with a price.
So this is directed by the same guy that gave us Fresh. This is a film that also stars Renee Zellweger as this young woman who finds it difficult to conform to restrictions imposed on her by her community, and the title derives from a Jewish Sabbath tradition. The acrostic Sabbath chant, "The Women of Lorber," begins with the verse, "Who can find a woman of value, her price is far above rubies," which in turn is excerpts from the book of Proverbs, and the chant traditionally is a prelude to the weekly toast, the Kiddush, which begins the Sabbath meal. That's really all I know about this movie. I've never seen it before. Has a decent cast to it. Zellweger, Juliana Margulies again, Christopher Eccleston, Alan Payne. Decent director to it. Does not have the best reviews per se, but it looks like Zellweger's performance was the most highly praised thing about the film, so that's pretty much all I know about this one. Another quick one there, so maybe I'll check it out one day. That's A Price Above Rubies. So let's go ahead and take a look at this last one here, Eden.
Found a miracle. One touch. One moment. One dream at a time. Joanna Going. Dylan Walsh. Sean Patrick Flannery. Eden. Nothing on earth can stop a miracle.
So you have the story of a New England boys' school and one of the students who is infatuated with an instructor's wife who has multiple scoliosis. The woman struggles to show her strict husband how love rather than demands help the students to blossom, but when she finally falls into a coma. When she is able to have some looking down awareness of what is happening, her coma is what brings her husband to an understanding of the needs of others. If there's not a lot on here from Wikipedia, then I really don't know what else I can add to this. This is a film that's largely seen as a forgettable film. A film that doesn't really have a whole lot there, except for the fact that it has Joanna Going, Dylan Walsh, and Sean Patrick Flannery among the cast here, but I don't know anything about this movie, quite honestly. I don't think it's a film that... It doesn't really look like a film that has a lot of interest for me, and like I said, if there's not a whole lot on Wikipedia, if there's not a page on Wikipedia for at least something there, you can pretty much tell how forgettable this movie really is. So, not much more to add to that one, so that's Eden.